I'm working on this music here, and it's for one of my students, and it's got me thinking about a couple questions I'd like to ask you. The first one is, why do you take cello lessons? Why do you pay for cello lessons? And maybe you're thinking, oh, well, I want somebody who knows this instrument to teach me how to play it. Well, I know a lot of people who know this instrument much better than I, but they're terrible at teaching. And so, that's not a really valid answer. But when they play certain pieces in front of me and they use certain fingerings, I'm like, wait a minute, something's going on here that you're not explaining to me directly. Some sort of tacit knowledge is happening that I'm absorbing just by physically being in your presence. Now, a lot of people pay for that. That's granted, but for you, you're watching this video, you're probably supplementing your lessons or no lessons at all with the things that you learn in this video or on this channel. So I'm here to address that issue that is very common amongst modern cello players that are just beginning. I'm not talking about everyone that has had the teachers for years through school. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the guys and gals who pick up this beautiful instrument and they're way past whatever age, and maybe they're a teenager and their parents are like, they don't care, and they want to learn this instrument. So first thing you need to do, get all the basic techniques, and that stuff is all sorts of videos out there on this channel too. But then you start really looking at how to read music, which of course I put on this channel too. But then you now to get into reading music, actually finding music. Now a lot of us, most of us, will go to the International Music Score Library Project, the IMSLP.org. If you've never used it before, I suggest you use it. And on imslp.org, you can access thousands upon thousands of scores, which was regularly unavailable to the musician. When I started playing cello, I had to go to the music store and purchase the scores, or maybe get a copy from a friend. There was no ability to download directly and have it displayed directly on a device like this right here. So that's why I use iPads, by the way, because I have literally over 20,000 scores on my iPad. Over 20,000. Do you know how much 20,000 scores will fill this entire room? So there's a lot of music out there, and it's great for you guys, these beginners, and any modern cellist, really, because we discover so many wonderful things. And typically you'll go here, here's, the IMSLP, and this is it, and you'll find something that is part of your desire to play cello. For instance, I have a particular cellist I'm going to talk about. His name is Thibaut, and he's in my studio here, and he really loves Vivaldi. Now, I try to tell him Vivaldi's great, but it's just simply above your level. He's a beginner. And just like you, he doesn't take no for an answer, so he went and he downloaded an arrangement off of imslp.org. And got to give a shout out to Grayson. So we have a Martin Grayson, which uploaded this arrangement for 2 cellos. And this was uploaded on February 16th of 2012. And he probably used a free music editing program, not free, open source music editing program. I use it all the time, MuseScore. And you can just input all the information in there. You can extrapolate parts from the piano and the cello solo and put together a duet. They're actually not hard to do. And you get something that looks similar to this right here, which is I'm going to put it on the bigger screen right there, but you get something that looks sort of like, this right here. You can't even see that, but it's right there. And it's the notes. This is a reduction of the left hand. That's the bass part of the piano, and it's just the notes. So yes, thank you, Mr. Grayson. You've gotten the notes correct, but that is it. What do you do from there? How do you get from this to what I'm working on right here to this right here, which is, considerably different? As you see right here, we have the fingerings, we have a blue bracket, there's bowings, there's a significant portion of information that is just missing from the raw notes. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this tacit knowledge, this ability to transfer actual notes into actual technique. And what I do with like the brackets and things like that, I have to not only be able to play the music, I have to be able to understand it logically. And then I put myself in your position as either an intermediate, beginner, or advanced student, and I apply your sort of logic and your thinking into this. And that's how I devised this program of evaluating fingerings, because there's really only one valid way of looking at all fingerings for all genres of music, for all time, okay? And it's simple. So I'll share a little bit of the secret with you. You first have to ask yourself a question. What makes cello playing difficult? Why is it hard to play this instrument? Think about it. Now the answer can be summarized, and I'll use the English translations, and summarized in 3 S's, as in the letter S. What makes playing the cello difficult? Well, for one thing, you have to string cross. So when your bow crosses across the strings, that makes cello playing a little more difficult if you simply played everything on the same string. So, what is the second S that makes cello playing difficult? Well, shifting. If you could play all of your music in one position on one string, well, then that would be easy. You wouldn't have to move. You wouldn't have to shift. So, changing strings, string crossings, and shifting. Those are the 2 S's. So shifting, string crossing. There's one other thing. Go back to your first position, the position that you all know. Now we have it here. What makes cello playing difficult? What will cause you to move away from your perfectly formed first position? Stretching. This is the third S. So extensions. So when you string cross, when you shift, and when you stretch, those are 3 unequivocally correct. I don't know if I'm using that correct, but those are 3 absolutely correct in all dimensions, in all genres of music. What makes cello playing more physically difficult? Simple as that. You could talk about the musicality and tone production, la-di-da and all that stuff, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the physical science behind cello playing. And if you talk about the physical action of playing this instrument, stress on the hand, movement of the hand, and then movement of the bow between the strings, that thing makes cello playing more complicated, thus more difficult. And so, logically, you would ask yourself, how many times, how many ways can I reduce the amount of stretching, string crossing, and shifting? And the more you reduce those numbers down, the better it is and easier it is to play cello. If you reduce the stretching, the shifting, and the string crossing to a statistical valid difference, which I'll talk about. If you don't know statistics, I'll explain that what it means to be statistically significant. So if there is a significance in the difference between your method and using my method, if there's a significant difference, then you should use it. And so that's why when you tune into this channel and you see these scores up here on the screen, you're going to be getting the best of the best. You're going to be getting a fingering system that is absolutely bulletproof. And so what I'm doing with all of my scores, and I'll demonstrate for you actually with this score right here, is the system that works perfectly. I'll demonstrate bit by bit, step by step, on how one can make cello playing physically easier to play. And that's all I really want to talk to you about today. Future videos are coming up as usual. I had to develop it in my life recently, and that sort of took me away from you guys. So back, and yeah, this is going to be a good year. We've got some good things lined up. So Thanks everybody for tuning in. Subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And let's keep growing. Let's keep learning.